Hi there and welcome back! In our last video we explored sovereignty, power and the planet we share. Today we're taking that conversation deeper, because there's a paradox at the heart of global climate governance, and it goes back nearly 400 years. In 1648, the Treaty of Westphalia established something radical. No authority stands above the nation-state. Fast forward to 2025, 195 nations, 195 constitutions, zero accountability for the one crisis that threatens them all. This is the age of absolutism. Sovereignty protects nations, but who protects the planet? And unless we solve this fundamental legal mismatch, we're all going down with it. Before we talk about what's broken, let's understand what we have. There are three layers of law that should protect us and the planet. First, universal declarations. The United Nations Charter, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, conventions on equality, children's rights, and yes, the right to a healthy environment. These are principles, aspirational, foundational, but not enforceable. Second, national constitutions. 195 of them, some written, some unwritten, but all serve the same purpose: define the state, its structure, governance processes, and fundamental rights of citizens. This is hard law, the supreme law of the land that cannot be changed by ordinary legislators. Third, international treaties. Agreements between sovereign nations. The Paris Agreement, the Convention on Biological Diversity. These are adopted voluntarily, which means in legal terms there's soft law. No binding enforcement, just promises. Now here's where it gets interesting. In theory, these three layers should work together. Universal principles guide constitutions. Constitutions enable treaties. Treaties protect the common good. But in practice, there's a hierarchy. And it's inverted. National constitutions rooted in Westphalian sovereignty always override international climate obligations. Constitutional scholars point out that constitutions hold hierarchical supremacy over treaties, even human rights treaties, because treaties are voluntary, constitutions are supreme, and sovereignty is absolute. So, when a nation violates the Paris Agreement, there's no court, no arbiter, no penalty, just sovereignty, the ultimate veto. And that's the problem we need to solve. December 2015, 195 countries signed the Paris Agreement. A historic moment. The promise was clear: limit warming to 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, strengthen adaptation, achieve net zero emissions. 10 years later, universal commitment, systemic failure. Targets missed worldwide. Emissions still rising, and when countries violate their commitments, no international court, no arbiter, no penalty. Why is there no enforcement? Some thought the answer was to put climate into constitutions. Some countries tried. 11 nations, including Ecuador, Tunisia, and Venezuela, embedded climate and environmental provisions into their constitutions. Ecuador went furthest. Its constitution recognizes the rights of nature, Pachamama or Mother Earth. It mandates state action to limit greenhouse gas emissions, prevent deforestation, and protect biodiversity. This was revolutionary. Ecuador's courts have ruled in favor of forests, rivers, and ecosystems, not as resources, but as living entities with legal rights. But here's what's missing. Not even one of these constitutions explicitly references anthropogenic climate change, as defined by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. No Paris temperature targets. No binding timelines tied to climate science. And even if they did, these are hard law within borders, and climate operates beyond them. After all, constitutions govern territories, climate governs systems. And when those systems collapse, sovereignty says, not my jurisdiction. That is the paradox. Let's be clear about what we're actually talking about. When the IPCC defines anthropogenic climate change, they mean specific human activities, burning fossil fuels, deforestation, land use changes, industrial emissions. Climate isn't just temperature, it's a system. Atmosphere, oceans, and yes, biodiversity. Forests are carbon sinks, oceans regulate heat, soils store carbon. When we destroy biodiversity, we disrupt climate. Equator's constitutions protects ecosystems and biodiversity. That's groundbreaking, but it doesn't explicitly connect biodiversity loss to climate disruption. It doesn't reference the IPCC's framework of anthropogenic causation. And crucially, it doesn't bind the equator to prevent harm to other nations' climates. Because constitutions govern territories, climate governs systems. So, did it work? Ecuador enshrined the rights of nature in 2008. Its constitution mandates state action to limit emissions and protect biodiversity. Let's look at the numbers. Since the constitutional mandate, Ecuador's emissions have risen by over 9%, from 80 gigatons in 2012 to 88 gigatons by 2022. The energy sector remains the dominant source. Furthermore, they missed their first NDC target. Now, to be clear, Ecuador has done more than most. Its courts have ruled in favor of forests and rivers. But here's the paradox. Constitutionally, protecting nature within your borders doesn't stop your emissions from harming the planet. So, why do even strong constitutional protections fail? Because constitutions protect nature and national sovereignty. And when those two clash, sovereignty wins. Ecuador's economy depends on oil extraction. That oil fuels emissions. Those emissions warm the planet. Despite constitutional protections, resource extraction continues because it funds infrastructure and social services. No external body can tell Ecuador, your emissions are warming other nations, stop. Because sovereignty says, that's an internal matter. This isn't unique to Ecuador. Every nation faces this tension. Domestic law protects nature, but economic sovereignty protects the right to develop. And development often means emissions. That's why constitutions alone can't solve this. We need what every functional system has: external accountability. Everything we've analyzed, from the soft law of treaties to the pioneering constitutional models like Ecuador's, which still failed the enforcement test, leads us to one inevitable conclusion. Our legal framework has failed the entity that needs protection most. Sovereignty is the shield, but it is also the handcuff. It prevents external intervention even when one nation's failure threatens the entire global system. We cannot solve a systemic crisis with territorial law. This problem cannot be solved by a treaty. It requires a new legal authority. That is why we propose the Global Climate Authority, GCA. It is a supranational legal mechanism designed to enforce climate law and ensure the system finally has a voice in court. It transforms sovereignty from a right of control to a duty of stewardship. Thanks for watching. Every system begins with a shared belief, and this one begins with ours. This is a citizen-led initiative. I do believe that the European Union, with its deep history in international law and climate leadership, is uniquely positioned to drive this crucial legal evolution. If you haven't yet, please watch our first video on sovereignty and review our GCA Manifesto. The future of our planet depends on our ability to innovate the law itself. We cannot keep applying 17th century rules to 21st century problems. The GCA is the logical necessary solution. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We look forward to your feedback and engagement in this vital conversation. Bye!